A race car made for the road. It's one of the most popular one-liners from the marketing playbook, and it is the supposed calling card for this, the Aston Martin Vantage F1 Edition. More performance, a modest increase in power, and firmer underpinnings than the regular Vantage. This is supposed to be Aston's two-door sports car like we've never seen it before. The F1 connection, well, it's a tenuous one at best. The F1 Edition is dressed in the same racing green livery as Aston Martin's Formula One cars. And this car is now the basic medical and safety car of the category as well. Now, we could go and visit a circuit to really put the changes to the test, but what I want to know is whether this makes the Vantage a better all-round product. The Vantage has been available in its current generation locally since 2019, offered in both coupe and roadster forms, each sourcing power from a Mercedes-AMG derived turbo V8. The F1 Edition charges a $25,000 premium over the equivalent coupe donor, offering extra performance, stiffer underpinnings and some cosmetic trinkets to match. You'll know you're in an F1 Edition, well, because there are a lot of badges saying so. Our car comes in the same racing green as Aston's F1 machines, with a satin finish teaming with new 21-inch wheels, carbon inserts on the bonnet and guards, and a giant rear wing. It's not simply to look pretty either, with a claimed 200 kilogram plus downforce at the F1 Edition's 316 km/h top speed. Power is up 18 kilowatts over the standard Vantage, while torque remains unchanged at 650 Newton meters, though it is available across a broader spectrum of the rev range. Now, it is worth noting that the Mercedes-AMG GTR that shares its same basic engine with the Aston Martin Vantage still produces an additional 37 kilowatts. The 0 to 100 time is unchanged from the standard Vantage, so 3.6 seconds, but I think it's fair to say that this one delivers its power a little more differently. Elsewhere, Aston has tweaked the Gearbox software to deliver snappier changes with less torque cut on upshifts and new algorithms on how the car shifts down under deceleration. The F1 Edition plies its power via an active differential and features a louder exhaust than standard. Firmer rear springs, revised adaptive dampers and various bits of chassis stiffening have been made, together with a stiffer steering column to improve feel and precision. I have to say, this is pretty well behaved for a very angry supercar. In isolation, the cabin's relatively well suppressed from the outside noises, though I wouldn't say it's quiet. The ride is bearable, a little bit of thudding here and there, but no major crashing, and even the outward vision. It's a car that you kind of jump into, climb over the door sill, and you can feel relatively at ease more or less straight away. There's a couple of telltale signs that you're in something a little bit hot. This car, if I stand on the brakes, there's this prominent thudding noise coming through the cabin. That's either because it's had a very hard 2,000 kilometre life, a lot of track stuff, or because the rotors are slotted. It almost feels like they need machining or something. But anyway, the Vantage F1 Edition. It is a car that gets better the faster you go. Put it into track mode, you get lovely crackle and pop on the overrun, under acceleration, and everything works really well. I'd say compared to the normal Vantage, there are tangible improvements everywhere. So that answers that question straight away. You can throw into a corner, you're no longer shimmying on the outside wheels through the corner. The roll stiffness has improved. It really just hunkers down as a result, cultivates confidence. And even the engine, 18 kilowatts isn't a whole lot, but when you change the delivery, when you add a bit more character, when you add a bit more noise, it makes for a really theatrical, visceral supercar, and that is what the world needs at the moment. I'd have to say, yes, there are big improvements over the regular Vantage. You do get that little bit more security as you're sort of pushing through a corner, less sort of shimmying about, more focused and more dependable in terms of grip levels as well. I will say that the steering still feels a little bit vague on center, so
just little mid-corner adjustments, tipping into a corner. The front end for me probably still isn't as sharp as some rivaling cars. The McLaren range really comes into mind with that, even the Porsche 911, rear engine of course, but this car doesn't really feel like it has the depth or the outright performance ceiling of some of its contemporaries.
We found the active differential did a superb job of keeping the F1 Edition in a straight line, and combined with the underbody changes, offers more precision and confidence than the regular Vantage. Then there's the engine. The Vantage is rumoured to go all electric in the coming years, but for now the V8 does a sterling job, and efficiency wasn't all that bad either, at 12 litres per 100 k's in a mix of conditions. The different driving modes work well, even without an individual setting, but ideally we'd love to have a standalone button to make that exhaust loud.
I tell you what, I have to say, you can just bury it into a corner and it really hunkers down faithfully. There's none of the shimmying, bobbing around that the regular Vantage suffers. It feels great under braking. And that V8 just puts a smile on your face. If anything, the stability control suite in this car kind of kicks in a little bit too keenly. Even in track mode, you find you step on the accelerator just a little bit too enthusiastically and you have the stability control light flashing up at you. Obviously it's there for good reason, but I think in a track application you would find it more of a hindrance than a help. On the road, no such problem. The automatic gearbox as well, 8-speed ZF unit. For me, it's not quite as sharp as some rivaling dual clutch units, but hey, for the smoothness that you get at low speed and for the flexibility of this gearbox, it's a pretty good compromise to make. This is great. I think, you know, for all the track-centric features of this car, it makes for a better Vantage on road, even on rugged rural roads I'm driving at the moment, everyday Australian roads. This feels right on the money.
So we've determined the race factor bodes well for the Vantage on road, but closer inspection reveals that not everything is up to speed with the F1 Edition.
The interior as well could be described as racy. You've got these highlights that go all the way through the cabin, lots of Alcantara and really low slung sporty seats. I have to get to the elephant in the room though. The interior feels about 10 years behind the pace. The centre fascia is festooned in buttons. The infotainment system is borrowed off, well, it looks like a Mercedes-Benz A-Class from 2010 with an old school rotary dial, no touchscreen capability, no Apple CarPlay and no Android Auto.
Aside from having to climb over its considerable door sill, the F1 Edition would happily play along as a daily, with a sufficient assortment of storage and cup holders. The driving position is low slung and in reach of the key controls, while vision is considered front and rear, even with that rear wing in your line of sight. That brings us to the infotainment system, which is sorely missing out on the latest expected features. One look at our checklist makes for grim reading given the spend upwards of $300k. Likewise, the standard safety technology on offer in the F1 Edition is pretty bare, even for a modern supercar. The Vantage is backed by a 3-year unlimited kilometre warranty, and while servicing isn't exactly front of mind for supercar owners, we couldn't even obtain a price from Aston Martin's Australian distributor, which hardly bodes well. Ultimately, those are small concessions for everything else on offer.
For me, the F1 link here is immaterial. That's because the Aston Martin Vantage F1 Edition moves the needle forward in every respect for Aston's two-door coupe. Angrier, livelier, full of character, this is a supercar with a genuine sense of occasion, provenance, and aside for the interior, no real compromise either. And that's regardless of whether you're heading out for a leisurely Sunday drive or a bit of track action.